Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 21st, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hopefully the day treated you well, treated you nice. As for me, it's been a pretty good day. I will say, yet again, I didn't sleep the best. But we woke up initially, I think around 4:30, so there a little bit of an extra hour there. But this time, I at least traced immediately why. I had fallen asleep a little bit earlier before turning off my TV and like my laptops, and so I woke up and they were just still on, and I was like, oh crap. So I tried to turn them off real quick, try to lay back down, and I'm successful. So I slept much better in total there. So we get up, get ourselves together. We'll say a train got in the way, so we were a bit late again, but that's okay. That's fine. But overall, the day was good. Not too much work, but I pretty much stayed at the Crusher, sans like maybe like a few go backs or put backs, whatever, going upstairs. So, moderate amount of work, not too bad. I got out an hour early, so that was good. But before we go to the gym segment, let me highlight a little food corner, because we had a nice little lunch break today. It turned out they were two of the people in maintenance. It was their birthday. So that was sweet. One of the older guys in maintenance and one of the newer guys in maintenance. And I haven't introduced this person at all. Actually, I really don't introduce any of the people, but I can say, at least in this situation, at least like part of this person's name, because we share the same name. So this is a fellow Isaiah. So that's nice. It's interesting. I feel like I should have mentioned this like last week, but I just didn't like. The thought came to me. I think I made like a random like post about it and like an Instagram note, and then I just kept it moving. I was like, whatever. Yeah, so there's another Isaiah here. Cool. Small world, right? But no, overall, the guy is really cool. He's much younger, like 24. I say much younger, but now that I do feel that now. I feel like, wow, there's over a decade now between me and 25. I noticed that. So, definitely a lot quieter, but I would say he's a lot quieter comparative to like everyone else in maintenance. And that's honestly a little bit refreshing. But definitely like seems like a really cool guy. So the head guy in maintenance was like, okay, I want to do something for them today. Who wants to chip in so I can get some pizza and cake from Costco? And I was like, all right, hell yeah, bet. So I threw in a little bit. So come lunch, we all split some cheese and pepperoni pizza, and then there was this big birthday cake, like essentially vanilla icing, and then it had like in the middle this cheesecake in it. It was so good. And the pizza was giving like cafeteria style in terms of slice, in terms of taste. Honestly, hey, I'm down for some like grade school pizza. I would smash that all the time, every day. So yeah, it was a nice little treat there, kind of kicking back with the boys in maintenance. And then, we didn't finish everything. So like essentially just, I think I was a little annoyed actually, cause I thought when they said that they were done with it, they were going to like, just let the rest of the warehouse have it, essentially leave it in the break room. But what dude meant was like, no, I'm taking it to the supervisor break room. And I'm like, man, this isn't for the haves, it's for the have-nots. What the fuck? But like, it is what it is. Also, I was mad too, cause like I didn't get, I got a pretty big piece of pizza. I got a pretty big piece of cake, and then I got like 5 slices of fucking pizza. I was on some fucking fat shit. I'm on my demon time, but like maybe like 30 minutes had passed, and like my guilt over eating was like way faded away, and I'm like, I want more cake. I wish I had more cake, and I literally circled the block, and it was gone because I'm pretty sure it was in the supervisor break room, and I was like, no. I was on my piggy shit. But needless to say, it was a really good day. I always celebrate some birthdays. It's good to do that shit. And like I said, I got an hour early. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. But so yeah, W work day. Post work, we went to the gym. Actually, I stopped at the house. I just wanted to kind of reconnoiter. I was so full of food, ready to burst. So, quick decompress at home. And then I went to the gym. Gym was another busy day, but, Cowboys make do. We did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some core work, and then about 30 minutes of cardio. So overall, W gym session. And that was the day. So yeah, I would say it was a great Thursday. I enjoyed myself. I ate too much food. So, hell yeah, we'd love to see it. Let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. Speaking of me being greedy, speaking of me being a little piggy, I re-upped on some snacks, and I think once again I just had the sweet tooth. So I also picked up this Hostess strawberry cream filled like little cakes, little cupcakes, little two for one pack. So I got a pack of those, and then I also got some trolley sour worms, so I could like snack on them. So yeah, I don't know, man. Summer's coming, and I'm making all the wrong moves. What can I say? All right, from the BBC. Gaza flotilla activists deported from Israel as backlash over treatment grows. Hundreds of pro-Palestinian activists who were detained in Israel after their flotilla bringing symbolic aid to Gaza was intercepted have been deported, Israel has confirmed. It follows international backlash and in response to a video posted by far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, showing himself taunting activists kneeling with their hands tied behind their backs. On Thursday, the UK confirmed it summoned Israel's top diplomat in Britain, Charge d'Affaires Daniela Grudsky-Idstein, over the incident. In a statement, the UK Foreign Office said the move reflected the UK's strong condemnation of Ben-Gvir's conduct in taunting those involved in the global Shamoud flotilla. This shit even got so sinky that Benjamin Netanyahu's like, yeah, I saw the video and that was not good. But yeah, essentially it was just him waving a flag around, taunting the people who are essentially saying, hey, we are trying to provide aid, some assistance to people who really need it, because you guys are clearly not providing it. And, essentially all they got was beat up, and you get Itamar Ben-Gvir in your face saying like, welcome to Israel, we are the masters of Israel type shit. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess he's just allowed to do this. And yes, he's facing condemnation, but that's about it. No one's going to actually intercede or anything like that. In fact, it's like, hey, any and every time this flotilla, rallies and tries to get aid, this is just going to get shut down every time. And, this is going to be the process. I think this is the second time we've covered a situation like this before. So yeah, I at least wanted to highlight it just to show that, like, I don't know. It is one of those things where it's so frustrating because it seems like at the end of the day, the people, the likes of Itamar Ben-Gvir just get to brag about this shit. They just get to say, hey, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's always going to be done. And you're not going to stop us. And it's like, oh, you're going to boo me? You're going to say I'm a bad man? I don't care. Like, I'm going to keep doing this shit, and we're going to keep oppressing people. So yeah, it's very frustrating. But, that being said, I do think it's important to not just highlight that, the atrocities part, but also the fact that people are still making the effort. They're still trying. Yes, is it symbolic? Yeah, but at least it's something. It's highlighting the issue. But yeah, we can go ahead and move along. Our next story from CBS News. Long Island let me run that back. Long Island Railroad strike ends as MTA unions reach tentative deal. The Long Island Railroad strike is over after the Metropolitan Transportation Authority and unions reached a tentative agreement Monday to end the 3-day work stoppage. Tonight, the MTA reached a fair deal with the 5 LIRR unions that delivers raises for workers while protecting riders and taxpayers. I'm pleased to announce that phased LIRR service will resume beginning tomorrow at noon, New York Governor Kathy Hochul said in a post on X. The deal between 5 LIRR labor unions and the MTA was announced just before 9 p.m. after negotiations all day and over the weekend, bringing service back to the largest commuter rail in the U.S. The LIRR, which serves roughly 300,000 commuters daily, has been paralyzed since midnight Saturday. Excuse me. When the 3,500 workers, 3,500 unionized workers walked off the job. MTA CEO Jano Lieber said the strike would officially end at midnight Tuesday, but train services will not be available for the morning commute. The strike is going to be over, and there are people who are reporting to work in this hour and in the hours to come to resume service, Lieber said at a news conference outside MTA headquarters in Lower Manhattan. Let's see here. Skipping ahead a little bit. Full details of the agreement were not immediately provided, but Hochul said the MTA news conference at the new MTA news conference that it does not raise taxes or fares. At the time when everything is going up, we all know the story. I was not going to allow taxes or fares to go up, the governor said. The National Mediation Board summoned union leaders and MTA management to a meeting to resume bargaining Sunday evening, and both sides picked up the talks Monday. Let's see here. The MTA's strike contingency plan with replacement shuttle buses will remain in use Tuesday morning to bring commuters to New York subway to the New York subway. Buses will run from 4:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Let's see here. More than 2,100 commuters couldn't drive Monday morning. Went to one of the 6 Long Island pickup locations and boarded buses to stations in Queens, according to the MTA, which had capacity for 13,000. In the afternoon, MTA workers guided commuters off subway and toward their buses to get home. Travel times were up, and so were some riders' frustrations at the Howard Beach JFK station, which is understandable. They have some testimonials from people who are, talking about hell, it would cost me $100 for Uber. And then on top of that, I got to take a 2-hour ride on the bus. This shit's fucked. I get that people need to make money, but this is hella fucking inconvenient. And I understand that. And I think people are, have every right to get mad. I just hope that people understand that it's once again, you shouldn't aim that at people who are trying to make a living, trying to survive just like you. Because at the end of the day, they are in a situation where they are not able to, and they are facilitating this whole process for you to go to and fro. Whether that's to your job, whether that's to your house, whatever. You know what I mean? They serve this important service. Them walking off is showing, hey, this is why you need us, and this is why we are, together, united, so that we can actually get what we need. It's not to dick anybody over. It's not to fuck over the fucking city or anything. It's to get what you're deserved, get what you're owed. So that to me is very important. I didn't really track this story too heavily, but once I saw that there was a resolution, I was like, hell yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit. But let's move on to another union situation, another positive outcome, I'd say. From Bloomberg, Samsung reaches 11th hour deal with union to avoid strike. In a last-minute reversal, Samsung Electronics Company reached a tentative deal with its labor union, averting a potentially crippling strike that had been scheduled to start Thursday at the world's largest memory chip maker. The Southern Korean company said in a statement late Wednesday that labor and management have reached a tentative agreement on wages and the collective bargaining agreement. The company's union also confirmed suspension of the plans for a strike that had been planned for May 21st to June 7th. Samsung's stock rose as much as 7.6% in Seoul, while the benchmark Kospi gained more than 6%. The truce averts what could have been a damaging strike for Samsung and the tech industry. The Korean giant is the world's biggest supplier of memory chips that go into everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to the AI data center servers that power services like ChatGPT and Claude. Shortages in the memory chip sector have already driven prices sharply higher in recent months, and disruptions at Samsung could have exacerbated the squeeze. Let's see. Days of back and forth brinkmanship and high pressure negotiations led to the tentative settlement. On Wednesday morning, labor leader Choi Seung-ho said the work stoppage would go ahead after Samsung's management rejected a proposal from government mediators that the union had accepted. Korea's government, deeply invested in the outcome because of Samsung's importance to the country's economy, made one last appeal as Labor Minister Kim Young-hoon called the two sides together for evening talks. About 90 minutes before midnight local time, the parties reached a provisional deal. Under the terms of the proposal, Samsung will begin a special performance bonus system that will reward workers in the semiconductor division based on profitability. The 10-year bonus scheme will include ambitious profit targets of 200 trillion won, or $133 billion per year from 2026 to 2028, and 100 trillion won from 2029 to 2035. Samsung's union told members they will be able to vote on the proposed 2026 wage agreement from 2 p.m. on May 22nd to 10 a.m. on May of 27th. Now, I don't know. I'm not some econ expert, obviously. If this is something that makes the people in the union happy and they all can sit down and say, okay, this works for me, then all right. I don't like the idea that things like this are going to be based on profit targets just because I'm like, no, you need to give me like concrete money. Money now, I need it. Like, I need to know at this point I'm going to see some money, and then in X amount of years or whatever, or every year I'm going to see an increase. That's what I like to see from me. Now, granted, I can't talk shit. I don't fucking operate in a union, unfortunately. I will say something that is really cool and really rocks and puts a smile on my face is I do have a girlfriend who works in a union, and I think it's really fucking sweet that they're fighting for their shit actually currently throughout the fucking summer. And, just hearing, firsthand accounts of even like in a school system, they are trying to do unions dirty because at the end of the day, they don't want to fucking pay people what they're fucking owed, even if people's children are on the line. And that's such a fucking bummer, man. It's sad to hear that. But a heartening thing, a thing that makes me smile and makes me happy is that people everywhere all the time are fighting for this shit. It is a tale as old as fucking time. That it's like, hey, we have a purpose. We like what we do matters. Like we should be treated as such. And I do love to see people standing together and rising up. So hell yeah, we love to see. I'm clapping it up for that shit. Hell yeah. So yeah, I kind of going back to Samsung. I don't want to besmirch this because I don't know the fucking logistics. Like once again, if this is good for the goose and they all say yes, I vote yes for this, awesome. But if they all get together and they say no, this fucking sucks, this is lame, then I'm also all for that. You know what I mean? More times than not, I feel like over 90% of the times when I'm talking about these kind of stories, I am like hearing what the union says and I go, that fucking works. Let's fucking go. But anyway, let's continue. The strains between management and labor showcase simmering tensions across the country as workers push for a greater share of the profits that companies like Samsung and SK Hynix Incorporated are deriving from a global AI infrastructure boom. Samsung is on track to become one of the world's most profitable firms this year, with its semiconductor arm posting a 48-fold jump in profit for the March quarter. The union had earlier demanded that Samsung scrap an existing bonus cap, allocate 15% of its operating profit to worker bonuses, and formalize those terms and employment contracts. I kind of like that. That sounds kind of lit. Labor leaders pointed to SK Hynix, which last year agreed to allocate 10% of annual operating profit to a performance bonus pool. Samsung had proposed allocating 10% of its operating profit to bonuses along with a one-time special compensation package that exceeds industry standards. Company executives argued that the union's demands would be difficult to sustain over the long term. We're making money hand over fucking fist, but like making you guys even accommodated, like even somewhat, it's just so hard. It's just so hard for us. And I'm sure that's when they're going to start talking about, well, AI is on a bubble. It is kind of a risk. We don't know if we're going to be making all this kind of money in, like, I don't know, 10 years. But if that was the case, you wouldn't say that, because you're definitely giving the game away. If you're a company saying, oh, we could be costing and betting the whole farm. And if we do, we're too big to fail, but we would definitely have to do a lot of layoffs and it would get really nasty. And we definitely just couldn't afford to pay you and make profit. That just wouldn't work. So, we're thinking about the future too. Type shit. And I'm just like, fucking boo. Pay people what they're owed. If you are making money, people should be making money in your company. Period. Like, I know I'm not a smart man. I know I'm not the most eloquent man, but like, that just makes sense, right? Like, I'm not crazy, right? There's more details. There's more yada here, but we will call it there for our union talk. I kind of just scrabbled together this episode. I wasn't sure really what I wanted to talk about, but I heard about the Long Island Rail strike, and I was like, let's Google that. And then this spilled into the Samsung stuff. And I was like, all right, hell yeah, we'll sprinkle on some, sadly, some genocide, some atrocity shit, and then we'll call it an episode. That's essentially what we had for today. But I do have one more thing that I wanted to cover. I really didn't even want to cover this. You're going to get a quick Isaiah style on this shit, but hey, we at least get to close out and do it my way. But yeah, this is from Axios. Democrats finally released 2024 election autopsy after criticism. But spoilers, it's not saying much. Ugh. But yeah, let me take my last break and we'll go ahead and close this thing out. Spoiler alert, Democrats are they have loser fucking energy and they can't get over that. I don't know, man. And I say this as a person who votes blue all the time, every time. Oh man, I'm so liberal. They're calling me Rachel Maddow. No, that's not even funny. Anyway, let's see. Let's just read a little bit here. From the heart. The Democratic National Committee, or the DNC, released what it said was its full unredacted autopsy of the 2024 presidential election on Thursday, after months of mounting pressure on party chair Ken Martin, who is keeping the report secret. Martin's handling of the autopsy has led to a crisis of confidence in his leadership among many top Democrats. I think I heard like a few months ago, or maybe this was like fucking last year, I can't remember. But essentially it was giving like coup vibes of like some of the younger up-and-comers who fancy themselves progressive, or at least a little bit more left, or like, we got to get more young people in more powerful positions to actually say some shit. But, I mean, it remains to be seen what they're going to actually say if and when they got the position, they got the platform to do so. I don't know. But that being said, more or less, they're like, okay, so we fucked up. Many point to former President Biden's decision to run for re-election at age 81, his disastrous performance in his debate with Donald Trump, and Kamala Harris being quickly anointed to nominee when Biden dropped out. And it's like, yes, these are very obvious things. Like, once you saw that debate, everyone was like, oh, this is fucked. His brain is noodles. He's over here tripping on his own bike. He's falling over sandbags. Like, this is our president. It's over. Like, we got to get this guy out of here. And it sucks because his opponent is Donald Trump. And then we just heir apparent fucking Kamala Harris. And I remember I've talked to some friends who, they're like, yeah, I mean, I voted for Kamala, but I really didn't like being in that situation. It would have been nice to see the actual process like you're supposed to, and someone actually gets it. But we were so entrenched in this whole bullshit situation of will he, won't he, Mr. Dementia Man. And it turns out he got fucking cooed out of that. And they said, okay, no, we're just going to lateral in Kamala Harris. And like I said, I think that was a stinky thing to a lot of people. But what they don't really get into are any of the issues with the foreign policy, and I think a big glaring one that most people really noticed and talked about and felt a way about was the situation in Israel and the situation in Gaza. And it's like, okay, so for the October 7th shit, they're going to do a whole ass fucking war that is looking a lot like a fucking genocide. And we're pretty much backing it. We are enabling it. And Joe Biden seems fine with that. He's not stopping that. He's not pulling any of his support. In fact, he is helping. So what are we to do about that? Because we're the Democrats and we're letting that happen. We're okay with that? Question mark. And once again, this autopsy, this look within doesn't even want to go that deep. They don't even want to look or touch on that, which is understandable. I know a lot of people, especially when you're talking to someone who's a more progressive, you're talking to a leftist, just goddamn it, fuck ideology, a person with a fucking heart. You go, yeah, that's really fucked up to see, like front and center. And the best that Kamala Harris was doing at the time was like, I'll just like, I'll miss the meeting and the photo op with Benjamin Netanyahu because I know that's icky. Like it is giving liberal. I see this thing happening and I'm shaking my head. I feel so bad about it. It's so gross and icky. But it's like you can stop it. We have the means to do that, but we won't. We just won't. That's just not the way the apparatus works. And I think that broke a lot of people's hearts. And they're like, yeah, I'm not voting. Period. Like I'm not participating in this shit at all. There's no reason to. But then I also thought about it too, because I swam in this fishbowl for a while, and I let this shit sift and sit and simmer, whatever, and then just to be burnt out. But I think back to the Build Back Better bullshit campaign, and then I think back to how fucking Joe Biden couldn't get Joe Manchin out of his goddamn houseboat. He couldn't stop Kyrsten Sinema from curtsying this shit into fucking nothingness, and the shit got whittled down into some fucking bullshit. And it wasn't going to do, like, half of what it was supposed to do. And Pete Buttigieg had to just sell that shit like, yeah, this is great. We're doing great infrastructure stuff. Yes, awesome. Waste of fucking time, really. I know I'm being a little bit pessimistic. I'm being maybe a bit heavy-handed, some of my friends might say. Some people might fucking say. But once again, they don't even talk about this shit in this quote-unquote autopsy because they don't really give a shit. Like, they know that at the end of the day, the playbook is what it's been for a while, which is, man, Donald Trump sucks, huh? And that is what we're going to keep running until the man's done. I guess gone? Or he takes a great big chariot to the sky? I don't fucking know. But they refuse to come up with any new plan, any new play. Like I said, every once in a while you'll get a plucky person or whatever, and they'll say something really interesting, and I want to believe it. Maybe I'm just too jaded at this point. I don't know. But like, you have to even see these people get into these positions. And I hope they don't AOC it up. Not to be controversial, not to be mean, but you just want to see something that actually feels and looks like real change. Even if this party can't even deliver on it, at least that they actually are putting out the optics that make sense and go, hey, we actually give a shit about this. If you gave us the reins, we would stop it. You know what I mean? Like, actually do something about it. And then also, once again, talking about things at home. Actually delivering on some infrastructure changes. Actually delivering on some affordability changes. Personally, once again, guy who's going to vote blue no matter fucking who, I don't believe in any of the Democrats' plans that are actually going to, like, lead to any affordability. Because let's face it, you're going to have to make some hard-ass fucking decisions post that, if and when you get it, right? That's not going to lead to shit that's going to initially going to be like, oh, okay, now we're going to see a lot of money in our pockets. Now everything's going to be rosy. And then you have 4 years to make that change and you don't make it. People are going to be mad and they're going to blame the incumbent. And then what? We get JD Vance or whatever. Or like, I know I'm doing a lot of fucking math into a future 8 years plus out, but like, that's what I'm saying. This is where it just sucks. It just doesn't feel good to think about. Good or bad. It just, I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. But let me not get too in the weeds about this. This is overall supposed to be a good news episode. You know, yay, unions. We love to see that shit. And, I pray for a better Democratic Party or just something better. Like, you know what I mean? I would love to be in a situation where we aren't doing this team bullshit of just two parties and we actually have multiple parties. But even then, I've seen situations like that play out where you have multiple parties and it still feels as useless. Excuse me. You know, I just want to see changes that matter. We are capable as a society of doing that. And I hate seeing every day, year after year, just us boiling ourselves alive slowly but surely, like in every sense of those words. And it's like, we just don't have to do that. We could just actually be on some thriving ass shit. I know I'm not crazy, and I know you feel that too, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I have the sandwich board on right now. Maybe they need to take my mic away. I hope not. Let's knock on wood. But anyway, that's it. That's all I have for today. That's the episode. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if and when I get back on again. I know we have a pretty long weekend coming up, and I've been prone to taking off the Fridays now. So this might be a bit of a we'll see you when I see you. I'm going on vacation type vibe. But we'll see if I can get an episode in. Well, I don't know. I'll miss you. But yeah, let's see. I got to chill a little bit. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is always caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts are always appreciated, but you don't have to do none of that. I really just appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me and letting me yap about my day and eating cake and, the plagues of democracy. I don't know. No, I don't know. That's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.